And now we go to our third speaker, another one of our qualified speakers who, as I said, she was just on the road to do this at the local Kiwanis Club, and you got to do it in person, right? Right, Suzanne? And in Riverside. And so your topic today, and she had spoken before us, it is life without laws. And you have been a member of our qualified speakers, and we are ready for you to start when you are ready to go. Suzanne, Allee. Are you ready?
Suzanne, you're muted.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, close your eyes and imagine you can't see. You're making your way to an elevator inside a medical building. You need to get to the 5th floor, but you can't see to read the buttons. Now imagine you have a cane and you've learned how to walk. You've come to the curb, but you don't know that you've come to the curb. You go to step down and you fall. And finally, you're waiting for the city bus. You can't see to read the number on the bus that is coming. The only sound is the bus pulling up. How would you possibly know this is the bus you were waiting for? Now, fellow Toastmasters and guests, please open your eyes. I happen to be blind. And before the Americans with Disabilities Act, this was my life. I have memories of being anxiety produced, waiting for someone to help me push the button so I could go to the floor I wanted to go to. On one occasion, I remember waiting for the bus at a very busy bus stop with many, many people. Several buses picked up at this bus station. I remember asking someone, "Which bus is coming?" I was met with a blank stare, that deer in the headlight look. So as most of us do, I followed the people onto the bus, only to discover I was on the wrong bus. Curb cuts. When I go for a walk now, there are curb cuts. Bet you didn't know what a curb cut was. It's a piece of concrete that connects the sidewalk with the street. Sometimes it has markings on it and sometimes it doesn't. I remember earlier on going for walks with my cane in my neighborhood. And I crossed many streets, not knowing I was crossing, and I didn't know that I had walked further than I wanted to walk. But in today's world, we have many capabilities, apps that help us in these areas. We have an iPhone that has Blind Square. We have Be My Eyes. We have IRA, artificial intelligence, that allow us to see things that we can't if nobody's around to see. Today, I can walk in that same elevator and there is Braille. Curb cuts. When I go for a walk, there are curb cuts. I messed up that speech. And those are, as I mentioned, they're made out of concrete, and it makes it so much easier for us to walk. Curb cuts are mainly in residential or in areas where there's a lot of traffic. And something about curb cuts, they can get a little confusing for those of us who can't see, but when we do learn the top of the curb cut and the bottom of the curb cut, it's really helpful. Buses now have automation. And as I mentioned, we also have the technology to be able to tell which bus if we don't have anyone to tell us. Artificial intelligence is another part of it, where we have on our phone, we get live people that come on that can actually tell us what's going on in front of us. I want you to know that 1 out of every 4, that's 61 million people, have a disability that affects their daily life. Affects all aspects of their daily life. And 1 out of 1.1 million are legally blind. Ways of defining blindness. Eye care professionals define blindness. They use 2 techniques, acuity and field of vision. Now, acuity is when you look at the eye chart and you see the sizes of the letters, and the clarity, the shapes of them. And then the field of vision is your actual peripheral vision of what you're seeing. So they measure that. Now, when I was younger, I was able to see a lot better. I was able to see most of the letters on the chart very clearly. I had a sight about 2100. But as I grew older and was losing my sight due to my medical condition, my eye doctor now puts up fingers and has me count the amount of fingers. Now, the United States defines blindness as 2,200 is legal blindness. That means that what you can see at 200 feet, I have to be at 20 feet. Now, a lot of people think of blindness as total blindness or light perception, but the National Federation of the Blind likes people to consider themselves blind if they cannot accomplish daily tasks independently. That is, they need to use a cane to get around. They need special equipment, adaptive equipment to get around. Right now, approximately 75,000 people in the United States, 750,000 people are considered legally blind. And there are 50,000 of new cases each year. 8.9 million are considered low vision, and 1.5 million of those cannot read a newspaper with corrective lenses or glasses. Bureau of the Census also states that they look at people as being blind as those who cannot read a newspaper without corrective lenses or contact lenses or glasses. When I hear the word disability, I focus on the word ability. I choose to focus on what I can't do rather than what I can't do. The Americans with Disabilities Act helps in this process by providing reasonable accommodations for anyone who requires them. Let me give you 3 examples of how the Americans with Disabilities Act helps, and blindness organizations and blind folks themselves help make this world a more accessible place for people who are blind. Braille. Braille is what a sighted person considers print. That is our print. Braille can be seen in classrooms, outside of for classroom doors. Braille can be seen in elevators. Maps have Braille. You can also go to the ATM and find Braille pull up to the ATM machine and there's Braille. That's for more advanced readers. Automation or Audible. Now, buses have automation. Elevators also, in some cases, in medical buildings. I was in one recently, and there was automation that told me what floor I was on and where I was headed. So that was really cool. Audible signals are really big now. They're starting to become more and more available in areas where there's a lot of traffic. For the north and south, it's the cuckoo, and for the east and west, it's the chirp chirp. That allows us to determine when it is safe to cross. However, we still want to use our listening skills to make sure that it is safe to cross. Audible description is something else that's becoming more and more available for those of us who are blind. A lot of TV channels, movies, if they're able to provide descriptive, that is where somebody who is professional can talk in the non-visual parts of the movie and say what's going on non-visually, and that's really helpful. Also, museums are becoming having more accessible with the descriptive audio, which is really nice. I went on a audio descriptive trip at the Disneyland in Florida, and that was really neat. I didn't have to leave my home. That was really cool. Curb cuts. Now that is something that is really cool because it not only does it help people who are blind, but it helps people with mobility issues and moms who are pushing their babies in baby strollers. Also, tactile pavement is really helpful. I've seen crosswalks that have different lines that keep you more centered in the sidewalk that help people who are blind. Also, there's a lot going on with trying to get exercise equipment. People are advocating, I know American Council of the Blind is advocating for exercise equipment. It's an issue with the blind community. Obesity is very big, and we're trying to advocate so that equipment can be accessible, be able to tell us auditorily what is being said. Money. That is something else, having our bills in different sizes so that we're able to know what bill we have in front of us and not get ripped off. So I shared 3 examples of accommodations with you tonight in my speech: Braille, automation, and also curb cuts. Without the Americans with Disabilities Act, I would have been in trouble, but I'm living a full life. Each of us may experience a disability in our lifetime. We don't know. The Americans with Disabilities Act for the last 31 years has made it possible for people with disabilities to live a life, an active life. So I implore you, please, talk to your legislators, talk to your assemblymen, talk to your local governments, your city council. If you see something that's taking away from people with disabilities, speak up for the cause. You don't know, it may happen to you eventually. The population, the baby boom generation is increasing. There's going to be more and more of us out there. Please speak up for the cause. One of my favorite quotes is from Helen Keller. Helen Keller has inspired me and countless others when she said, "The only thing worse than being blind is having sight, but no vision." Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Suzanne. And I'm going to do something to you I didn't do to anybody else. And that is because you're such a professional speaker and been out on the road and been exposed to that. And then we have a little bit of time. So I'll open the floor to a couple, 2 or 3 questions from anyone who would like to ask you something.
Sure.
Are there any, just speak up because as I said, I can't see the whole screen. So speak up and mention your name. I think I see a hand. Yes, go ahead. I thought I saw one. Oh, yes. Okay. Kevin.
Hi, Suzanne, I was wondering what is the name of the condition? I also want to know when you first discovered or when you first learned about that your vision would deteriorate over time. What kind of thoughts and feelings did you experience?
Oh, thank you. That is an excellent question. Yes, I had a lot more sight out of my left eye. I don't know if I forgot to mention that. I only have sight out of my one eye. I was born with hydrocephalus. And I had a retina detachment at age 10, and I had over 100 neurosurgeries. So yeah, it was sort of came with the territory of having the intracranial pressure changes in my brain. And that's what attributed to my sight loss. And, you know, I don't want to say I didn't have any feelings, what have you. Of course, I think we all go through that. But I think I had such a supportive family, the Braille Institute and other organizations I was connected to. So I knew that I would have that support and be able to know that once I learned the skills, such as traveling with my cane, I've had a guide dog once I learned Braille, that would all help me tremendously. So, yes.
Okay.
I
I
have
see
a question.
again.
David.
What is it?
David.
David?
David.
Hello, Suzanne. How are you?
Hi, David. I haven't seen you in a long time or heard you in a long time.
This is true, my dear. It's excellent and quite a treat to hear you speak. We have known each other for a number of years. What made you decide to join Toastmasters as an outlet?
Oh, gosh, that is a great question. Thank you. You know, I always knew I love to talk. I love to talk to people. And I have, and still do, I mean, continue to, it's a process of socializing, not being able to see and being able to communicate that to folks and saying, hey, I can do that. I can help. Look what I could do. And I've been told recently, we've gone to a couple of social gatherings, and people said, how proud I am of you, how you talk to people, you engage, you ask questions, you contribute. And I say, Toastmasters helped me to do that. And I'm sincere about that because it really has. I'm a geek. I could sit and read and do research and be on my computer and do all day long, and I'd be totally content. But guess what? I need to share. Knowledge is power only if we share it. And so that's what I'm doing with Toastmasters and trying to share things like the Americans with Disabilities Act. So.
Okay, and I see one more
David.
question from Judy, and we'll hear from Judy and go on after that.
Okay.
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Thank you for that inspirational speech. My question is, how were you able to put up your visual aids to see all the visual aids that you needed? I wonder.
Oh, that's even a better question. Well, Judy, as you know, writing a speech, delivering a speech is a process. And this is a speech that is still a work in progress. And as I'm writing it, I think to myself, because part of my wanting to educate people is I'm learning to coexist in a sighted and a non-sighted world. And I have to think my audience, what does my audience want? What are they looking for? And I know just from experience that visual aids help, especially people who are visual learners. And so I said to my speech coach, Randy Powell, I said, wouldn't it be cool to show, and I Googled this, I couldn't see it, but I Googled it, the elevator with the Braille and different pictures, just a little bit. I didn't expect him to do what he did, but I know there's a little bit more. So yeah, that's how it got started. And he's, of course, assisting me with that. Obviously, it's nonverbal, so I do rely on sighted folks to help me out with that, just to augment my speech. So thank you for that question, but that's basically it.
Okay, and I will leave you with one question from me, because part of the purpose of Speakers Bureau is to get speakers out to speak to non-Toastmaster audiences. So can you tell us just a little bit about what your experience was like going to the Kiwanis Club to give your speech?
Oh my gosh, it was wonderful. First of all, my friend Diana took me. We arrived early, which was great. I always love to arrive at an event early. And she walked me up, saw the tables. I saw where she walked me up to the podium where I was going to speak, the microphone. So it was very, very nice to be able to get a feel for how far, the tables and how far to look left or look right. And so that really allayed my anxiety that I had a little bit. But guess what? I was so excited to speak in front of a live audience, because for me, when I'm on Zoom, and I love it, I love being able to do this, I think it's wonderful, but I can't see anybody. I'm looking at a camera here I don't see anything. And in a live audience, you hear the chuckles, you hear the little comments, like the deep breaths, and then it just spurs you on even more. And in fact, I have been told by my home club, my have known me for quite a while, so much better. We like you in person. I said, well, let's meet in person then. Not that I don't give good speeches online, but it's just, again, I think it's the audience. It's just the vibe, the feeling you get by being in person. And I think it's very motivating. So for me. So.
Okay, thank you for that, Suzanne. I know I've been saying for years that the biggest thing we're not doing well in Speakers Bureau, we have good meetings and good speeches and good members and good qualified speakers. I'm so proud of my qualified speakers in this group, but we're not doing the job of getting you out to speak and show off those skills. And so that's my big task this year, to work very hard at trying to get more opportunities, and maybe we'll get some Lions Club opportunities too.
Yes.
So thank you for that.